The question is from the domain Linux, and the question is, what is a bastion host or a gateway server? What role do they play? The question is not exactly from a Linux domain, like if you're expecting that they will ask some commands. Yes, they can. This is a general question that is asked, wherein if you have worked in any of the on-premises or cloud setup, you might have come across this word bastion host or gateway server. Well, you can pause this video here and see how to answer them. Let me go ahead and first explain a bit about bastion host and then let you know how to handle this question in the interview. In the example, you can see that we have a bunch of EC2 machine and we have some users. Let us consider that instead of giving all of these EC2 machines direct access, meaning people connecting from PEM file or from AWS console, we don't want to do that. Is there a good reason? Yes, because in some cases, what happens is these servers are considered to be a private server or private, they are inside a private VPC. So we don't want to provide a direct access to everyone, but still it is required for us to give access because we want to debug, deploy, test, check logs, etc. So how do we handle this particular situation? The key point here is security and monitor the incoming and outgoing traffic. Well, that is where a bastion host comes into picture. It is a server, basically, with some user-related configuration that it has clear roles defined that user A can access X, Y, Z servers or can do X, Y, Z actions. User B can access only X and Y server, etc. Well, needless to say, what we are trying to do here is to have a gateway to check, to monitor, and to make sure that only certain people can access our private EC2 machines, which are inside a private network. So what's the flow here? The flow is first, they are going to log in to the bastion host. And that is validation number one. Later, from the bastion host, they can SSH to another machine if they have access to this machine. If they don't have, they will not be able to access it, needless to say. What is a critical advantage of this piece of infrastructure or having a bastion host setup is that if we want to cut off all external access to our internal server, all we have to do is destroy this bastion host. The moment we destroy the bastion host, what will happen is there is no connections that can be made from the public internet to our private network. If we want to reestablish, we can bring up this bastion host again using the automation and reestablish this connection. But the critical piece of infrastructure that we want as part of security is right now in place. So what exactly is bastion host? It is a server that is used to manage access to an internal or private network from an external network. Bastion host is also known as a gateway server, a jump box, or a jump server. Very well. How do we tackle this question in the interview then? Bastion host, also known as gateway server, is basically a server that manages access to an internal network or in our cloud or on premises. Certain kind of applications might require this design and bastion host will come into handy. The critical role it plays is it controls the flow of the external traffic into our internal system via the server, meaning if we were to block all the external access, all we have to do is shut down the bastion host server. That is it. This is how you can answer this particular question in the interview.